You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Black to Business Podcast. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall, and I am just so glad that you are here with me today. Listen, I know that sometimes the most powerful conversations happen when we just get real with each other, and that's exactly what this short and sweet solo episode is all about. So as we're approaching the end of the year, I can feel it, and I bet you can too. So there's that mix of excitement and maybe a little anxiety about what's ahead. So maybe you're sitting there looking at your business numbers thinking, am I really ready for the next year? Or did I do enough this year? And I see you, because whether you are juggling that 9-to-5 job while you're building your business, or you're balancing your family life with entrepreneurship, or paving your own path as the first to do it in your family, I get it. So, I was just talking to someone recently last week, and one of the things she told me, so she's an entrepreneur as well, is that one, this might sound familiar to you. She said, Monique, I feel like I'm always playing catch up. I'm always one step behind where I should be. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you're nodding your head right now, because you felt the same way. But here's what I want you to know. Today's episode isn't about adding more to your plate or making you feel behind. Instead, we're going to work together to create clarity, confidence, and a real plan that works for you and your business and also your life. So now that we got that out the way, let me break down to you what we're going to actually cover today. So we're going to talk about how to honestly assess where you are without beating yourself up about it. And then we're also going to talk about creating a strategic plan that actually fits your life. So not some cookie cutter approach, and also building systems that work for you, even if you're time strapped. And we're going to dive into strengthening your entrepreneurial mindset. So you're really going to need this for the new year. And lastly, we're going to talk about aligning your business with your deeper purpose. So whether you're working from your kitchen table after the kids have gone to bed, or you're trying to figure out how to scale while keeping your sanity, this episode is for you. So let's get into this plan and create an actual plan that will help you show up powerfully in the new year. Before we create that strategic plan for next year, we need to get real about where you are in your business right now. So, I like to get real. So think of this like you're mapping out some road trip that you're going on. You need to know your starting point before you can actually figure out how to get to your destination. So let's start with your financial health. Listen, I just recently got my own bookkeeping in order because I refuse to have another stressful tax season. I feel like I was facing this every year. So I understand that looking at your numbers might feel overwhelming. So maybe your receipts are still in a shoebox, or you're not even sure what you should be tracking. So first, that is okay. We're going to break this down together in a way that actually makes sense. First, let's start by talking about your revenue. So I want you to think about the money coming into your business right now. Are you actually keeping track of every dollar, or are you just hoping that it all works out? And you know what I mean. So for those of you who are using Cash App payments, the Venmo transactions, like all of it. And I point this out because you cannot grow what you don't measure, and you definitely cannot set realistic goals for next year if you don't know where you are right now. So let's talk about specifics. When was the last time you checked your monthly income? Do you have a separate accounts for your business and personal expenses? Are your prices based on real numbers, or did you just pick a number that sounded good? Now let's talk about what's going out of your business. So those monthly subscriptions, the tools that you're paying for, the courses that you bought. Let's look at all of that, because sometimes we're spending money on things we think we need, but aren't actually moving our business forward. But here's the most important part of it: profit. And this is something that I wish someone would have told me earlier. So making money is not the same thing as keeping money. So you might be bringing in revenue, but if you're not profitable, you're just exhausting yourself. So let's look beyond the money now. I want you to think about the actual work that you're doing. When was the last time you felt excited about a client project? Are you saying yes to work that drains you because you're afraid to say no? And here's the big one. How many times did you check your business email during your eating your dinner last night, that's a no-no. And these aren't just random questions that I'm coming up with. They're about understanding where your business really is right now. Because maybe you're sitting there thinking about scaling, but your current systems are barely holding together. Or maybe you're wondering why you're always tired, but you're trying to do everything yourself instead of actually building a team or processes. You know what happens when you don't take the time to assess where you really are? You actually end up setting goals that either don't make sense for your business or they don't align with what you actually want. And that's exactly why we're doing this work now before we're diving into planning for the next year. And so now that you have a clearer picture on where your business stands, let's talk about where you actually want to go. And I don't want to be vague here because I feel like people always say, I want 6 figures, those type of goals. I'm talking about creating a vision that actually means something to you. So you know what's interesting though? Every time I sit down with entrepreneurs and I talk about their goals, they usually start by telling me what they think they should want. And most of the times it's, I think I should scale up to multiple 6 figures, or I should launch a course, or I should have a team of like 20 people. But here's what I want you to do instead. I want you to take a moment right now. So whether you're driving at your desk or just folding laundry, I want you to think about what success actually looks like for you. So not about what social media says it should look like, not what your business bestie is doing, but what would make you feel fulfilled in your business. And let's break this down into a way that actually makes sense. So first, think about your why. Not that surface level why, but the real reason you started this business. Was it about creating generational wealth, having the freedom to be there for your family, making an impact in your community? It can be so simple, whatever it is. Like for me, I even think about, I just want more time to read, which is something that I love to do. So whatever it is, that's your compass for everything you're about to plan. When you're clear on your why, we can actually start looking at what you want to create in the next year. Here's the thing I don't want you to do though. I don't want you to just throw out random numbers, or I don't want you to throw out these random goals. Instead, let's actually think about it this way. What would make this year feel successful to you? Maybe it's being able to take off every Friday to spend with your kids. Maybe it's finally hiring that virtual assistant so you can stop drowning in that admin work. Or maybe it's developing a signature service that lights you up every time you deliver it. See, this is where most people get it twisted. They think business planning has to be all spreadsheets and projections. But real success, it actually starts with getting honest about what you actually want your day-to-day life to look like. So let me give you an example. If you tell me you want to make $20,000 a month, but you also want to work just 3 days a week and never talk to clients directly, we need to make sure that your business model actually supports that, because there is nothing worse than hitting your revenue goals but being miserable in the process. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to grab a piece of paper if you're not driving, or you can just take these mental notes if you're on the move. So let's map it out. First, think about 3 months from now. What's one thing you want to do different in your business? Not 10 things, not a complete overhaul. We want to keep it simple. Just one meaningful change that will make a real difference. Then let's look at 6 months from now. How do you want to feel in your business? What do you want your clients to be saying about the work that you're doing? What do you want your bank account to look like? And when you're doing this, I don't want you to create these rigid plans that really stress you out. I want you to think about setting intentions that really excite you and create that vision that actually makes sense for your life. And I put a lot of effort into creating this because I'm all about curating things that make sense for you. And I say this because I think where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck is they have a lot of big goals and they don't know how to break them down into actions that they can take right now. So I want to show you how you can make it practical. Take that change that you want to see in 3 months. Maybe you said you want to stop working on weekends. That's a great goal, but how do we actually make it happen? We need to break it down into specific steps. So first, you want to look at why you're working weekends right now. Is it because you're not charging enough, so you need more clients to make your numbers? Is it because you don't have systems in place, so everything else takes longer than it should? Or is it because you're saying yes to every request that comes your way? And once you identify the real reason, you can create specific action steps. So let's just say it's because your processes are all over the place. Your action step might look like documenting your current client process this week. So, setting up an automated scheduling system next week, or even it could look like creating email templates the week after that. See how that is more manageable than just saying, I want to work less. Now, let's apply these same thinking to your 6-month goals. So, if you want to increase your monthly revenue, say, we need to break down exactly how you're going to make this happen. So, how many clients do you need? What does your pricing need to look like? What marketing do you need to have in place? And this is about creating a plan that doesn't just live in your head. It's about knowing exactly what you need to do this week, this month, and this quarter to move closer to those goals. Now let's take it up a notch and talk about making sure that these goals actually happen. Because keeping it real, we have all set goals before that just disappear in thin air. You know, those planners you bought that are just sitting on the shelf right now, or those beautiful goal setting worksheets that are saved somewhere in your Google Drive. Ask me how I know. But we are not doing that anymore. Instead, we're going to create systems that actually work for your life. So first, let's talk about what I mean by systems. I'm not talking about these complicated project management tools or these expensive softwares that we tend to get. I'm talking about keeping it simple. So repeatable processes that can help you stay on track. So here's what this might look like. A 15-minute weekly check-in with yourself every Monday morning, or a simple note in your phone where you track your daily wins. Or even one of the things you could do is have a monthly review where you look at what's working and what's not working. But the key here is, and this is something that I actually learned the hard way, your systems need to work with your natural habits, not against them. So if you know you're not a morning person, do not set all of your planning time for 5 a.m. If you know you think better on paper, don't force yourself to use digital tools just because somebody on Instagram said you should. The goal is not for you to create more work for yourself. It's to make running your business feel easier. So think about it like this. Every system you create is like hiring a little assistant who works behind the scenes to keep you on track. So let me show you exactly what I mean. Remember that goal of not working on the weekends that we talked about before? Here's how you can set up a simple system to make it happen. So every Friday afternoon, and I want you to actually block out time for this on your calendar. So take 20 minutes to do what I call a power planning session. And this isn't about creating an elaborate big to-do list. It's about getting clear on 3 things. So 1, what absolutely needs to get done next week? And 2, what can wait? And then 3rd, what can you possibly delegate or eliminate? And then use a simple task management system. So listen, I'm not saying you need to sign up for the latest project management tool. I personally like ClickUp, and I also like paper and pen. So this could be as simple as using the Notes app on your phone or a paper planner. So whatever you do, actually stick with it. And one of my other personal habits has become using Sundays to actually help me create a successful week. So what this looks like is maybe taking 15 minutes on a Sunday evening to look at your calendar for the week, and not to do work though, but to get mentally prepared. So this helps you start your Monday feeling clear and focused instead of overwhelmed and scattered. And this has become my personal favorite because I used to try to do this on Monday morning and I would spend entirely too much time and then it would get me out of focus. So this is something that I now do on Sundays. Now let's talk about tracking your progress. So remember those revenue goals that we talked about before. Set up a simple tracker. Again, this could be a basic spreadsheet or even a notebook where you record 1, what money is coming in, 2, your top performing services or products, and 3, where are your clients coming from? And the key is to make things easy enough that you actually do it, but detailed enough that it gives you the information that you need. And speaking of tracker, another quick hack I love is setting reminders in your phone for those monthly goal check-ins that we talked about. So not just any reminder, you want to make it a recurring calendar invite with yourself. So treat it like this non-negotiable meeting with your most important client, because guess what? That client is you. And I'll say this, the reason that most systems fail isn't because they are a bad system. It's actually because we try to change everything at once and we get overwhelmed and then go right back into our old habits. So here's what I want you to do instead. I want you to pick one system, so just one, to focus on for the next 30 days. So maybe it's that Friday power planning session where you just take that time to go all in. Or maybe it might be tracking your numbers. So whatever feels most important for your business right now, that is where I want you to start. And listen, there will be weeks when life happens. So maybe your kids get sick or a client project needs extra attention, or you just have one of those weeks where everything feels like it's going off track. That is so normal, and the goal here isn't perfection, it's progress. And this is why we're actually doing this now before the new year starts. You got time to test what works for you and then adjust what doesn't, and then build habits that will carry you through the next 12 months and even after that. And so I want to wrap this up with something actionable that you can do right now. So I want you to take out your phone, open your calendar, and schedule 3 things. So first, your weekly planning time. Second, your monthly check-ins. And then third, your first 90-day review. And I want you to do this right now because one of the things I talked about in the beginning is for a lot of us, it is exciting that there's a new year, but for some of us, it might be that anxiety that we're facing. But I want you to do these things as a reminder and let you know that your business can absolutely grow where you want it to be. But it actually happens through these small, consistent actions that we've talked about today. And I want you to remember that you don't have to have it all figured out right now. You just need to take that first step. And if you want to share your progress or you have questions along the way, you know where you can find me. Black to Business is always here to support you. And also, before we wrap up, I want you to know something else. The work that we've talked about today is not just about setting yourself up for a successful 2025. It's about creating a business that works for you and not the other way around. And you know, sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get so caught up in the hustle that we forget why we started in the first place. And we forget that we have the power to build our businesses in a way that actually feels good. It doesn't always have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be a business that you dread doing. So my challenge for you today is to take one thing from today's episode, just one thing, and then put it into action this week. So maybe it's scheduling that weekly planning time. Maybe it's finally separating your personal finances from your business finances. Or maybe it's just taking a moment to get clear on what you actually want for your business. Whatever you choose, I want to hear about it. So DM me on Black to Business on Instagram, or you can send me an email at hello@blacktobusiness. I want you to share your wins, your questions, or even your struggles. We want to make sure that you have a thriving and prosperous 2025 because community is what this is all about. And lastly, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today, for investing in yourself and your business. And I truly hope that this episode has given you both the practical tools and also the confidence to move forward with intention. So I will see you back here next week. But until then, keep building, keep growing, and keep pushing the culture forward. Later.